Hey YouTube land, Picard here doing another action figure review, and welcome back once again to the channel. And today I'm reviewing not one but two more of the Star Trek Next Generation Star Trek figures that Playmates have released this year as part of 2022's 35th anniversary. 35th or 30th? I think it's the 30th anniversary. Sorry, 35-year anniversary. So I picked these up from Amazon UK. The previous figure I had picked up from Amazon.com, and these are from the Amazon UK site. One thing that's interesting about these, before I go on about the figures, is the packaging. So both figures came on the same packaging. So you have this Star Trek Universe style box. This is obviously the one for William Riker. You flip around the back of the box, you still have the QR code. You have the other figures in the different lines. So you have the classic Star Trek, this is the movie series, which comes with Khan Noonien Singh, Admiral James T. Kirk, and Captain Spock. And then you got Commander Riker, Jean-luc Picard, or Captain Jean-luc Picard, Lieutenant Commander Data. And then for fans of Discovery, there's only two figures so far. Hopefully that might be expanded upon. But you have Science Officer Michael Burnham and Commander Saru. So you have an interesting artwork of the character on either side of the box. I'll just bring in Picard's. So you can see the picture, Patrick Stewart, and then Jonathan Frakes for the Riker one. What's interesting as well, it says here it's distributed by Playmates on the back, but on the Amazon website they're listed under Bandai, which is kind of interesting to note. They're actually sold under the Bandai logo in the Europe and UK, so I'm not sure why that is. I didn't know Bandai had bought Playmates, or Playmates were a subsidiary of Bandai. But if I bring in the original packaging I got with the Data figure, you can see the difference in packaging. This one is more reminiscent of the old 90s Playmates original packaging. So it is interesting to note that depending on where you're buying from, you'll either get the retro style packaging or you'll get the newer Star Trek Universe packaging, which is, as far as I know, across the board for both the Discovery and the original movie stuff. I think they all have that style packaging, whereas they had gone with the retro packaging for the Next Generation line. They seem to be either phasing that out early, or it's just was something for the first initial wave of figures. But either way, you do get a nice plethora of accessories for these. But I'll go through the figures first, because they're pretty much the same figure. The only difference is obviously Riker only has the commander pins, whereas Jean-luc has captain pins. But the figures themselves, body-wise, construction, are pretty much identical. The only difference again is hands. You have different hands for Riker, and obviously head sculpts. But the head sculpts are actually quite nice on these. Just bring it in there. It's quite a good likeness of Patrick Stewart. Same with the Jonathan Frakes one. It looks quite like the actor. Even the one that for Data, if I bring him back in, sorry about the noise in the background, it's starting to rain. The Data one is actually quite good as well. So again, same articulation as Data. Arms can move out that much. Can rotate her all the way around. Single jointed elbow with a swivel. Hands are on a swivel. Legs can kick forward, not so much back. Single jointed knee with a swivel. There is ankle articulation with a slight side to side. Because of the way their pants are designed, you don't get like rocker ankle really or anything like that. There is peg holes for their included bases. You get the same base with all figures. Head is on a kind of sort of ball joint. You can get some side to side, mostly just swivel. There's nothing in the waist. I think the waist joint is something that they should have added, because the old figures used to have that, and it was just a decent articulation point. Then You do have the, you know, Playmates, Columbia Pictures, all that kind of stuff on the back. Columbia Pictures, Canton Road Park, made in China. You have all the kind of manufacturing information on the back. Usually on most figures they're either hidden on the inside leg or they're on the bottom of the foot, but for some reason they went with the back for these guys. So for accessories, if you're familiar with the Data figure, or if you watch my review of the Data figure, you pretty much know what you're getting with these. So all the accessories for these figures are based on their original Playmates ones. I'm pretty sure I got the right phaser for the right character. Let me just flip around. Does it say anything? Unfortunately, I don't think it says anything of which weaponry it comes with who, but I believe, if I'm right, that Picard came with the tiny phaser. So you have a phaser, I think this is the phaser Mark II, if I remember correctly, because if I bring in Picard's one, Picard has a tiny phaser. This is, you can't really see that, it's gotten out of focus. So this is the Mark II, this is the Mark I phaser. They both come with the like red phase beam thing. The difference between Data's and Riker's, it's the same sculpt. The only difference is Data's has this handle piece that was on the original version of Data's one, whereas I think the actual, most of the other characters didn't have that, because they didn't have that issue with their hands where they were kind of under stretched like that. But he can hold the phaser in his hand if you want him to have the phaser. It is, depending on how you get into the hand, you have to kind of get it the right way, but you can get him to hold the phaser. He also comes with, as I said, the display stand. They both come with the same display stand. In fact, this is actually Picard's one. I left the one for Riker in his box. I didn't bother taking it out. I generally will try and use the figures without the display stand if I can. He comes with a tricorder. Now, Picard also comes with a tricorder, which is interesting. But even though the fronts look exactly the same, the backs are actually different on these. So I'm pretty sure this is the one that came with Riker. It has like that big bulb bit on it, and then has Picard's one has the flat piece on it. I'm not too sure. I could mix them up because they look identical. Well, I think the reason why Riker's has that big bulb piece on it is because he also comes with a data pad similar to Picard, but Riker's one has like this big indent on it, so it can fit into his little briefcase, whereas Picard's one is more flat. So you have like a slight differences between them. Again, the fronts are identical. I know it's really hard to see these, but the fronts are identical. The only difference is where they're handled. And then Riker comes with this like away team kind of mission kit, I think it's supposed to be. The original figure came with one of these. It's like a little suitcase, Starfleet suitcase with away mission stuff. And, excuse me, he can hold it in his hand. You just have to, again, get it in the right angle for him to hold it. I know I had him holding it, it's just getting him to hold it. He can hold it. It's a bit awkward for him to hold it, but he can do it. He doesn't get the best of grips on it if you're putting it into his hand straight, like the way it should be. You have to kind of angle his hand in to hold onto it, but he can hold it if you do. He also comes with like a diagnostic scanner tool of some kind. I'm not sure what this is. I would imagine on the, if I bring in Data's packaging again, where did I put Data's one? On the Playmates versions of the figures, they actually have the Starfleet gear listed of what they have and what they do, whereas on these newer packaging it doesn't give you any kind of indication of what their gear is. It just gives you the gear and gives you no information. In the other thing as well is Data's one actually has a kind of clip and collect data information card. Again, the other version boxes, which if I flip around Picard's one again, has none of that. They seem to have omitted it for some reason, don't know why, but it is what it is. But overall, he's not too bad. So both Picard and Riker stand in around that 5, just a hair under 5 inches. So they're not quite the 5.5, and they're not quite, they're just around 5 inches, which I think the original figures were a tad taller, if I remember correctly. They could have been a tad smaller. Just bringing my original data. Actually, no, original figures are actually smaller. Although, then again, Data is one of the ones that are kind of more hunched over for some reason. But for Picard's accessories, as I said, he comes with that Type 1 phaser, which he kind of has to hold. There's like, again, because of the way the original figures were designed, they probably had difficulties holding their accessories. So Picard will have difficulties holding his accessory because they're designed to fit into the palms of the other figures, of the older figure. But if you work it, if I can get it to work, you can sort of get him to hold the phaser. It's not the best grip on it. I know I had him doing it before, where it's just kind of wedge it in between his thumb and his hands. There we go. Hopefully that won't drop out, but you can see he kind of holds it underhand, which is kind of awkward. He comes with, as I said, a tricorder, so you can do away missions with everyone else. Again, because of the way his hands are and the way the accessories are designed off the original figures, it is a bit awkward for him to hold it. The data pad is probably the easiest thing for him to hold because there's like a slight outline around it, so you can get a probably better grip on it. So he does have his data pad. And then the other thing he comes with, which is unique to him, is this all black computer, which is the one that you always see on his desk in his, was it the ready room, was it? I think that was, yeah, I think it was his ready room, because they had the briefing room and his ready room. And this is the one that used to be on his desk, that he could swivel around and stuff like that. And you'd, if he was communicating with Starfleet, he would pop up in that. Now, there's nothing on the screen. I don't know if the original one actually had a sticker on the screen, but this one doesn't. And it is a two-piece thing, so it can be popped apart, but it comes pre-assembled. All in all, they're not too bad. And because I still have it handy, I'm gonna have to move some stuff here to get it, bring in. I do have my shuttlecraft still handy, so you can see them sitting in the vintage shuttlecraft. I don't know if they're going to do a new one. They may, depending on how successful this line is. I know Star Trek lines don't tend to be hugely successful for figures. It's mostly the ships, so they might just do ships and continue with the figures, depending on how well they sell. So these could be a very small, limited run on figures. But I'll just get Riker to sit in the seat of this thing. There's that seatbelt piece. So, bear with me a moment when I get him to sit in. Now, as I said before, if you watched my previous review, the seats on these were designed for the larger figures, or the, not larger, but the smaller but bulkier figures. I switch it around, you can see Riker does sit nicely in here. Picard does the same. And if I open up the back of this, you can, there's additional seating for extra personnel on the back of this thing. Unfortunately, this big huge battery box gets in the way, but you can kind of squish them in there. There was a seatbelt on it, but I removed it, unfortunately, so there should have been seatbelts to hold them in place. But if you want, you can get both Picard and Data sitting in this thing. It's a bit hard to see, but you can get them to sit in there, and you can throw all their gear in there, which is kind of what I'm doing at the moment, just so I don't lose any of their stuff. And throw all the gear in, use it as a big giant storage compartment. Like, it doesn't fit anywhere specifically, but you can just lob it all in there, close it up, and you hopefully shouldn't lose anything. And this thing still works. So, there you go, guys. There is a hopefully a quick enough review of the other two next generation characters from Playmates / Bandai Toys. I haven't picked up any of the original movie series stuff or the the Discovery figures, but if I do, I'll throw in a review of those. I was more excited for Next Generation stuff because that was the era of Star Trek I really grew up with, even though I grew up with the original movies as well. But the Next Generation was the kind of one that got me hooked on Star Trek. But there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed this quick review for Riker, Commander Riker and Captain Picard. They are reasonably cheap figures as well. I think they're around $15 to $14, and about, I think I paid, well, trying to remember how much they were in the UK, Ireland. They worked out not too much different, maybe about 16 euros thereabouts. So for what they are, they're not too overpriced. They're not like 20 or 24 euros like the Marvel Legends or any of those. So they're reasonably cheap in today's standards. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video review for these figures, and as always, please feel free to like, comment and subscribe to my channel, and hopefully see you in the next video. Cheers.